I'm here to talk to you tonight about a topic that is very dear to my heart and a topic that I feel very passionate about. I want to take you back to 1996 when a little boy was born into this world. He was the firstborn of this couple. He was the light of their life, their joy. They were so excited to have him. And the day of his birth arrived, and he was such a delight in their life. But right off they could tell something just wasn't right with him. Fast forward 2 years later, he still had certain things that was going on. He was still the love of their life, but they could just tell something just wasn't right. So after going to many doctor's appointments and going through many extensive tests, the final diagnosis was he was autistic. Fast forward 3 years later, it's time for him to start school. He's came a long way since his first diagnosis, but now comes the question, what to do? Do we put him in regular school system? What's the best program? Should we keep him home? Should we have a private tutor? What is the best option for our son, for his situation, and in his life? That's what I want to talk to you about today, mainstreaming. Mainstreaming is somewhat an old-fashioned term. When mainstreaming is used, it's generally described a setting in which your child is a part of a typical classroom with minimal extra support. Some accommodations may be in place, but in general your child is expected to do his or her work on his own with little attention from the teacher, and this is typically best for a child who is very sociable or moderately sociable and doesn't tend to act out when under stress. And verbal is one of the big keys for this type of children in this type setting. Mainstreaming refers to teaching children with special needs in regular classrooms with other children. Teaching autistic children without the benefit of socially trained teacher and the classroom tailored for such teaching was first attempted as a matter of necessity in a small school system into few autistics to make the practical to set up specialized facilities. It was soon observed that autistics in such situations in general did better than the autistics in the tailored classroom, and the policy of mainstreaming was born. Theory has it that separating autistics from a normal environment just accelerates the problem. U.S. law says that children with special needs must be educated with as little restriction as necessary, and the school systems have responded by placing autistic children and children with other special needs in the normal classroom as much as practical. And this needs to be an individual base as well. Arguments for mainstreaming include better role models for autistic children, an increased opportunity for social interaction, and higher expectations by teachers. Arguments against this include more opportunity for intense social training, more control over structure and routine, crucial factors in education, training, and the everyday life of the autistic child. In actual practice, few autistic children ever have the opportunity to be educated in the tailored to the autistics. The choice is often whether the autistic is mainstreamed or in the general purpose special education classroom, known in the business as a self-contained classroom. A few things to consider when thinking of your child becoming in the mainstreaming classroom. A few questions to think of is mainstreaming, inclusion, special need classes, public or private school, or someone that needs to be there shadowing your child. All of these are things that you need to think of. And the answer to this is it all depends. These are a few questions that you need to answer. Is your autistic child verbal and engaged? How are her academic skills? Can he handle large groups? Does she do well with a lot of sensory input? Does he have difficulties with focus? Has he had tough time in typical classrooms in the past? What kind of programs can your public school offer? How well do local programs fit with your child's needs and abilities? And are there local and private charter options that make financial sense for your family? All of these things are questions that you need to consider when considering mainstreaming your autistic child. In closing, I'd like to take you back to this little boy that was starting school, and fast forward 15 years later as he ending his high school journey in high school. Due to the mainstreaming system and mainstreaming him into the normal classroom, he is a success story. Due to the challenge that he was able to have opportunity to take on, and due to teachers and school systems working with him, being he is high functioning, and this needs to be a situational base, but within this case, it worked well. Because now he is able to function like any other child. He is able to function in school like every other student, participate in the things just like every other student does. And this is all due to mainstreaming. If he was stuck in a classroom with other children that were more severe than him and that couldn't do the things that he could do, he would have been held back and he would not have came as far as he is today. So when considering mainstreaming in your school system, please consider this. Even if it is individual based, please consider this with each autistic child. Because giving a child a chance is making that child better. And by making that child better, you become a better person yourself.